Good morning. Advocate Lubala, over to you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioner Musi. You have Mr. Byrall Smith in front of you. We've already advised you that Mr. Smith is going to testify about the life cycle and the acquisition process of the frigate corvette product system.
I'm sorry, Advocate Lubala. You're talking too softly. I can't hear you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we have time and again apprised you about the testimony of Mr. Byrall Smith. He's standing before you. We did inform you, and even in the summaries that have been posted on the Commission's website, that Mr. Byrall Smith is going to testify about the life cycle and the process of acquisition of the frigate corvette product system. He's standing before you and we are ready to proceed.
Let the witness take the oath.
Chairperson, Commissioner Musi, before we start, just to tidy ourselves and matters of hygiene, there's got to be two documentation before you. The first documentation is a bundle of documents including Mr. Smith's sworn statement, and that bundle starts from page 1 to page 166. There's been additional documentation that has been added to that bundle, and pages 163 to 166 enclose that additional documentation. So the bundle underpinning Mr. Smith's sworn statement starts from page 1 to 166. And then there is a declassified documents bundle of Mr. Smith. Those are the two documents that would be taking the Commission through. The declassified documents bundle starts from page 1 to page 174. I'm certain that we are all tidy now, Chair. Commissioner Musi.
Advocate Lubala, probably, maybe we should ask somebody to attend to my bundle, maybe during tea time, because the bundle which contains Mr. Smith's statement, mine goes up to page 160.
Chairperson, the relevance of these 3 pages would appreciate if they were to be included as at this stage, because they're very critical. Part of the testimony of the processes and the reports that Mr. Smith will be testifying to are informed by those 3 pages. I don't know whether it would be an appropriate time to adjourn to attend to those 3 pages. It's most unfortunate that we always assume that your bundles are in order before we start, but we've learned that we have to assure all the time that your bundles are in line with our bundles before we start.
Advocate Lubala, if it is possible at all, rather than adjourn, can we not ask somebody to make photocopies in the meantime and then we proceed with the witness? As I say, we've got only up to page 160, so it's only a few pages.
Certainly, I see the Advocate Masil on behalf of Armscor has already handed us the 3 pages, Chair.
Chair, If I may add, for the representative for Mr. Feinstein, Holden and Van Veeren, we are also only in possession up to page 160, and we also have not had receipt as yet of the declassified bundle, which I understand will be made available during the course of today, but I just wish to place it on record that we have not had the opportunity to prepare on it in advance, despite receiving the main bundle last Thursday.
Chair, Kane for the Department of Defence, we're in much the same position. Regrettably, we're also not in possession of the declassified bundle of 174 pages at this stage, and also seem to have an incomplete bundle attached to the statement. Ours only going up to page 160. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, the 3 pages, 163 to 166, were only placed and made available to us yesterday, and because of their importance, we felt that they should be included. That is being sorted out. I'm just a little bit concerned about the classified documents bundle as to whether all the parties have them. I know that yourself and Commissioner Musi are in possession of the declassified bundle.
We are in possession of those documents, but then what do you suggest we should do? You hear that 2 parties were saying that they don't have copies of these declassified documents.
Well, the Commission has just placed 2 copies of the declassified documents before us that we could hand to Ms. Kane and Ms. Neyman. They come from the Secretariat's desk, Chair. I think at this stage it would be appropriate for us to hand them to Ms. Neyman and Ms. Kane.
Ms. Neyman, I'm sure you have now been given copies of the documents that you said you don't have.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
And
Excepting the 3 pages from the first bundle, which I understand everyone is waiting for.
yeah, those will be made available to us later. I also don't have them.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
But then, are you comfortable about the fact that even though you have just received a copy of the declassified documents now, that we can continue with a witness and lead his evidence?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Kane, I suppose
Chair, that would be in order.
that will be in order. Thank you. Advocate Lubala?
Chair, having dealt with a storm in a teacup, of course it's our tea and our cup, we are ready to proceed. I assume that Mr. Smith has been sworn in, Chair. Oh, I see the stenographer is confirming that he's been sworn in. Mr. Smith, we're going to start with your sworn statement. I would like us to start on page 1, paragraph 1.1 of your sworn statement. I would like you to read it.
Chair, I'm an adult male. I was employed by the Armaments Corporation of South Africa, SOC Limited, brackets Armscor, as the program manager for the corvette project from its inception in 1992 until the completion of the evaluation phase in respect of the patrol corvette platform in November 1998.
Now, I see that you say I was employed in the past tense. Are you still employed by Armscor?
I am, Chair.
Now, you are referring to I was employed in the context of the timeline from 1992 to November 1998.
That's correct.
Now, we've heard a lot about program manager. I don't know whether you want to give a different view. Do you want to give us a short summary? Because that function is going to come time and again. You want to use your own words quickly? What's a program manager?
Chair, my colleague, Mr. Vermeulen, covered this point, but in summary, it's the nodal point for entry into Armscor with regards to a project, basically, and taking responsibility for coordination of activities in as far as it affects Armscor.
Thank you. On the self-same paragraph, you talk about the corvette project. How does it differ from Project Citroen?
The corvette project is equivalent to Project Citroen. Project Citroen was the acquisition of patrol corvettes for the Navy.
So, am I correct to say each time we refer to corvette project, patrol corvette platform project, we are referring to Project Citroen?
Correct. In terms of my statement, that is correct.
Now, one important word arises in paragraph 1.1, and we're going to hear a lot about it. On the last line, the patrol corvette platform. Now, do you want to simplify it in such a manner that it sticks on our mind? The patrol corvette platform.
Chair, the way we defined it under this project, you'll see the term gets used later on as well. We have a vessel, which we define at a higher level, consisting of two hardware elements. The one element is the ship platforms, and the other is the combat suite. And as we proceed through the statement, I think that will also be emphasized as well. So it's the ship platform and the combat suite make up what is termed in the statement vessels.
Now, by vessel, I understand you to be referring to the whole ship?
Correct. In other words, the whole ship, including the platform as well as the combat suite.
Now, my understanding is that by the platform, you could be referring to the whole ship excluding this combat suite. I would like you to explain what's a combat suite.
Chair, in sort of naval terms, the ship platform is what is called the float and move function. That's this thing that you see on the sea, floating and moving. The combat suite, added to that ship platform, gives it its fighting capability. So you've got the float and move, which is the ship platform, and the combat suite then adds this, shall we say, military dimension to the ship platform.
Yeah, I am satisfied that the commissions do understand these concepts. One just seeks to clarify them so that when we go deeper into your testimony, because your testimony is about that, it's about the floating move function and this fighter side of the vessel. Now, let's look at paragraph 1.2. Let me read it to you. A copy of my curriculum vitae is attached here to mark the as Annexure BS1. In summary, I've been involved in a number of cardinal naval acquisition projects since the late 1970s and over the past 23 years in the capacity of program manager. Before we go to your CV, are there different levels and capacities of program managers within Armscor?
Yes, Chair. You could have a program manager. It's a general term, but you could have a program manager for a non-cardinal project. I think you heard from Mr. Griesel about non-cardinal projects. And you could have a program manager for a cardinal project, essentially a bigger project and a smaller project. You could also have a program manager for technology projects, for instance, which are very limited in funding, etc. So it's a generic or general term for that particular post, notwithstanding the project.
Now, up to so far, before we go to your CV, we have a vessel. That is the whole ship, which consists of the platform and the combat suite. Now, is that a distinction between a submarine and a corvette?
No, Chair. There's no correlation between the terminology used here and for this corvette project and the submarine. The reason why there's this the breakdown between the ship platform and the combat suite is slightly historical, as comes later in the statement, in that the project had already gone a certain route by this stage. The project was already in the order of 5 years old by the time the SDPP came about, so it would follow a certain process. It's just a historical reason why there's just...
But at this stage, and I'm happy that we've preempted the second leg of my question. My question is, it would be proper for us to appreciate the distinction between a submarine and a corvette in this context, because in a corvette, we talk of a vessel consisting of a ship platform and a combat suite. We don't talk about the same in a submarine, am I right?
You could, if the submarine project was structured that way. I think we just need to note that the submarine project went out. It was essentially an existing design. It was existing. That particular design was about 17 years old. In terms of design, it evolved. And had just recently been sold to a different client, as opposed to the corvette program, which was a design project. It had gone through a period of design and development, and in particular with regards to the combat suite. So with the submarine side, it was very much to use a term, customization of the submarine, whereas for the corvette project, it was a different case.
Now, that's where I would like us to appreciate this distinction. I'm happy that you are recognizing this distinction. I understand you to be saying that in as far as the submarine is concerned, it's already customized, it exists, it's in place. And as far as the corvette is concerned, it's a design project.
In general, yes. The corvette project is a design project, and more so on the combat suite. The combat suite had a long history to it, and I'm sure as we go through, it'll become clearer. This point will become clearer.
We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that a submarine also has a combat suite. Am I right?
Correct.
Well, these distinctions, I suppose, will appear as we delve deeper and deeper into your testimony. I would like us to look at your brief summary on pages 9 to 10. Let's quickly run through it. We're not going to waste time. It's a typical abbreviated curriculum vitae. Annexure BS1, pages 9 to 10, an abbreviated curriculum vitae of Mr. Smith. Let's start with your education and qualification. You obtained a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Engineering, Mechanical. Is this 2 qualifications or 1 qualification?
Chair, it's a combined, at that stage, it was a combined qualification going over a period of 5 years for an engineering, to achieve an engineering degree.
So it's 1 qualification?
At that stage, yes.
My understanding, just for the sake of completeness, is that the Bachelor of Engineering belongs to the Faculty of Science.
You can interpret it that way, yes.
And you obtained that from the University of Stellenbosch during 1971 to 1975. I assume it was on record time?
Correct.
Then you have a Master's in Science, Ocean Engineering, from the University College London in the United Kingdom. Now, what is ocean engineering?
Ocean engineering is to do engineering of any floating, standing structure in the ocean, or moving structures in the ocean. And I specialized in the area of naval architecture, which is a sort of a historical term. It doesn't really have to do with a navy. It's to do with ship design.
At this stage, just give us examples of floating structures that comes on one's mind to appreciate a vessel, come to think of it. We started by talking of a vessel that we know at this stage, it would consist of a platform and a combat suite. I suppose that the submarine is also a vessel?
Correct.
What other forms of vessels would you think of? We know that the subject of your testimony, the corvette, is a vessel.
Correct. As I mentioned in the beginning, this was a definition that we brought into being just to ease the process in terms of the patrol corvette project. But other examples of vessels out there are oil rigs, oil platforms, submersibles. Yes, that's the sort of typical examples of other structures you would get out in the ocean.
So as long as it floats, standing and moving in the ocean, and it has got component parts, it's a vessel.
You could define it like that.
Okay. We note that you also have a postgraduate diploma in submarine design. It speaks for itself, am I right?
Correct.
What about corvette design?
Corvette design is actually part of the design process that I followed during my MSc in naval architecture. That would have been, but ships in general,